On Ukraine's 34th Independence Day, the skies were filled not only with fireworks, but with fire. Russia unleashed one of its heaviest barrages in weeks, even as world leaders gathered in Kyiv to pledge new weapons, new money, and new resolve. From Canada's billion-dollar aid to Europe's Patriot missiles, the battle for Ukraine's future now unfolds on two fronts: the war on the ground and the war for international unity. On August 24th, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney stood in Kyiv's Independence Square and pledged one of his country's largest military aid packages to Ukraine since the war began. Carney announced that Canada will provide drones, ammunition, and armoured vehicles worth over $1 billion Canadian dollars, more than $700 million, with deliveries expected to begin in September. The move forms part of a wider package Canada had committed at the G7 summit in Kananaskis, Alberta, earlier in June, when Ottawa pledged $1.5 billion in military funding alongside fresh sanctions designed to squeeze Russia's energy revenue.
At that same G7, Canada pledged an additional $2 billion in military assistance. And today I'm proud to announce that over $1 billion of that support will be used to strengthen your arsenal with urgently needed drones, ammunition, armored vehicles, material that will arrive next month. We'll also fund the joint production of defense material, including advanced drone from Canadian suppliers. And we'll provide tens of millions of new funding to support emergency medical and shelter assistance, initiatives to strengthen local democracy, including to counter digital attacks. And finally, as co-chair of an international coalition, Canada will intensify our work with Ukraine, with European partners, and the United States to secure the immediate and unconditional return of Ukrainian children.
Beyond weapons, Carney confirmed that Canada will commit tens of millions of dollars to emergency medical aid, the construction of bomb shelters, bolstering Ukraine's cyber defences, and supporting local democracy. Arriving earlier in the day, Carney congratulated Ukrainians on their 34th Independence Day and recalled the historic moment when Canada became one of the first nations to recognise Ukraine's sovereignty in 1991. Carney was not alone in Kyiv. Ministers from Sweden, Denmark, Romania, Lithuania, Latvia, and the United Kingdom, as well as US Special Envoy for Ukraine Keith Kellogg, joined Independence Day celebrations, a show of solidarity at a tense geopolitical moment. Meanwhile, Europe's northern states are also moving to bolster Ukraine's defences. Norway confirmed on August 24th that it will contribute roughly $696 million to fund advanced air defense systems alongside Germany.
Together with Germany, we are now ensuring that Ukraine receives powerful air defense systems. Germany and Norway are working very closely together to support Ukraine in its fight to defend the country and protect the civilian population against Russian air attacks.
The funding will supply 2 Patriot systems with missiles and additional radar equipment from Germany's Hensoldt and Norway's Kongsberg. Across the Atlantic, Washington also approved the sale of 3,350 extended-range active missiles, ERAMs, to Ukraine as part of an $850 million package. The ERAM, still in development until last year, is designed to strike deep behind enemy lines with a range of up to 400 kilometres and speeds exceeding 700 kilometres per hour. While Kyiv's allies deepen military support, Moscow is working to undermine the narrative of Western unity. In a recent interview with state journalist Pavel Zarubin, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov accused Western capitals of hypocrisy and deliberate attempts to obstruct peace efforts.
They're just looking for an excuse to prevent negotiations, and they want this to happen through no fault of their own, rather than because of Zelensky, who also hesitates and sets conditions, demanding an immediate meeting with Putin, whatever the cost. It's an attempt to disrupt the process established by Presidents Putin and Trump, which yielded very good results. and we hope these attempts will be thwarted.
Lavrov also said that Russia views Zelensky as the de facto head of Ukraine's current administration, with enough authority to negotiate on Kyiv's behalf, but not to formally sign a peace agreement.
We recognize him as de facto head of the regime, and in this capacity, we are ready to meet with him. When we come to a stage where you have to sign documents, we would need a very clear understanding by everybody that the person who is signing is legitimate. And according to the Ukrainian constitution, Mr. Zelensky is not, at the moment.
These remarks underline Moscow's intent to insert cultural and linguistic issues into any potential settlement, complicating the already fraught path towards negotiations. Even as leaders gathered in Kyiv, Russia launched one of its heaviest aerial assaults in weeks. In the early hours of August 24th, Ukraine's Air Force reported that Russia fired 72 drones and a ballistic missile from launch sites in Kursk, Milarovo, and Primorsko-Akhtarsk. Ukrainian air defenses shot down 48 of the drones, but at least 24 Shaheds and one missile struck 10 locations, causing widespread damage. Local officials confirmed civilian casualties across multiple regions. In Donetsk Oblast, one person was killed in Kostiantynivka. In Kherson, another died, and two others, including a child, were injured. Further north, Dnipropetrovsk suffered a drone and bomb attack that killed a 47-year-old woman. In Sumy, a 45-year-old man was wounded during a Russian airstrike, with 36 settlements reportedly targeted. In Zaporizhzhia, authorities reported 478 attacks on 11 settlements over 24 hours, injuring 2 people. Kharkiv Oblast was also struck by guided aerial bombs and drones, though no casualties were reported. As air raid sirens echoed across the country, President Volodymyr Zelensky used his Independence Day address to project defiance.
This is what we have been doing for 1,278 days of this war, the war for independence. For each of these days, I want to thank you. Ukrainian soldier, Ukrainian volunteer, doctor, rescuer, teacher. Our youth, our parents, every Ukrainian man and woman. Thank you all for what we've already been through and for creating Ukraine together. In 100 years, the Independence Day of Ukraine will be celebrated here. So it will be, because Ukraine is different today. Ukraine is stronger and respects itself. And Ukraine does not wait for a gesture of goodwill, but has its own will to implement what we need. We say we need the EU, yes, but it needs us no less. And everyone recognizes this, and they recognize Ukraine as such, not a poor relative, but a strong ally. This is what the coalition of the willing is about. This is what Washington was about. This and how to ensure a stable, reliable, lasting peace.
Zelensky's words reflected both the heavy burden of ongoing conflict and the determination to resist external pressure, whether from Russia's bombs or shifting international diplomacy. Ukraine's Independence Day became both a stage for renewed Western pledges of support and a reminder of Russia's relentless assault. The battle for Ukraine's survival is now as much about weapons and diplomacy as it is about sheer resilience.